What's that? Another health and safety unit? Go on then. Awareness of health and safety in the creative media sector. Now, don't be worried about having to do a whole other unit. A lot of this will map across to unit, I believe it was unit 6. So, guided learning hours, as you can see, only 15 hours here, but it won't even be that, I don't think, because you've done a lot of this already in unit 6, so feel free to reappropriate what you've already written, to expand upon it, to take bits of that, or to even combine the two. By all means, I don't mind, as long as it's apparent and clear where the criteria, or rather the evidence of the criteria is. That's all that matters. So, aim of the unit is to prepare the learner with an awareness of how to comply with relevant health and safety procedures and regulations in the sector. Let's go straight into it. So as I've said, a lot of this is transferable, mappable across. So we'll do that where possible. 1.1, however, is going to need a little bit of research. So for 1.1, describe key elements of health and safety regs relevant to working in the sector. So he needs to look at things such as policy of different companies. So different companies' policies of regulations suggest you might need to have certificates or qualifications in order to operate certain equipment, for example. Certain assessments might need to have been taken out in order for you to be successful to work within that company. You may want to look at things like planning and implementing as well within certain sectors. So you may want to look at one sector in particular maybe for this. Maybe you look at just film or journalism or web design. One area in particular might be useful to help you narrow your focus. You may want to look at things such as measuring and reviewing performance in terms of health and safety. So making sure that there are regular tests and checks to make sure that things are being operated in a slick, secure, safe, professional way that safeguards you and the workplace and the clients against any danger, risks, hazards. So, what key elements of health and safety regulations are there? Describe them. What are things that need to be considered in terms of addressing health and safety regulations? Things like planning, measuring and reviewing the performance, I think, and policy are the main areas you need to focus on here, okay? So in terms of the key elements, let's go on to 1.2, explaining safe working practices. So, safe working practices for a specific job role. So you may want to look at a job role that maybe you quite fancy, you want to do one day, or if you are lucky enough to be in that job already, do it for the job you're already in perhaps. What are safe working practices for a specific job role? What is expected, what's normal, what's the conventional practice in terms of making sure it's safe and secure. For 1.3, I want you to describe. So, give an example. The main employer responsibilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act, which I believe is 1974, if you are Googling it. So, what responsibilities did the employer have? Do they have to make sure you at the right PPE, the protective cover and equipment wear, for resources, for clothing? Do they have responsibility to train you to make sure you are paid for that training and it's covered by their expenses? Do they have a responsibility perhaps for looking after you when you are working off-site or off in a different workplace or with another client? What responsibilities do they have for you when that you are working in your role? Outcome 2. There's only 2 outcomes for this one. Be able to comply with relevant health and safety procedures. So here, you would have covered a lot of this already. So this is what I was talking about at the top of this screencast in relation to mapping across. Describe the differences between hazards and risks. You identified and defined them in Unit 6. What are the differences between hazards and risks? Carry out a risk assessment. Now, you did one of these for me for Unit 6 video production. So feel free to copy that in here by all means. If you haven't done that, then I've got a pro form where I can help you to fill in relation to another project, perhaps, okay? 2.3. report identified hazards and risks to the appropriate parties. Now, you definitely mentioned this in Unit 6. So underneath here, you may want to say something along the lines of, please see Unit 6, outcome 3.2, whatever it may have been. It's down to you to look into that and to figure out where have you covered your answer for this already. 2.4, suggest ways of reducing risks to health and safety. You see my point? All been covered, hasn't it? 2.3, 2.4 has been covered in Unit 6, but where? Find it and tell me where underneath, okay? Feel free to do this as a podcast, as a screencast, as photographs, as a video. I don't mind, as long as you demonstrate these two outcomes here. That's all that matters, okay?